So thank you for coming. This is the project informational meeting for Parkview, 11th to 12th Street. So a lot of work going on here, and I'm sure you've seen it out there tonight. We're going to quick do some introductions. I'm Jim Hoekstra. I'm with the Road Commission, Kalamazoo County. I'm managing this project. We've got a lot of Road Commission staff here tonight. I see one walking in right now, Dean Disterhef, one of our project supervisors. We got Jake, Bill, project supervisors. Wait to the crowd. Two commissioners here. We got Commissioner Brennan, Chair Brennan, and Commissioner Boersma. And I know we got Ryan Minkus in the back, County Engineer. We've got two of our consultant partners, HRC. They're up here. And Sarah Phillips, our Communications Administrator. So thank you all for the good turnout tonight. We're going to talk about the project. The contractor is not here tonight, but they are Millbacher, so you'll be seeing them on site shortly. So jumping back just a bit here. So this is the project, Parkview Avenue, from 11th to 12th. Actually, it starts more at Vienna, so a little bit west of 11th Street, and it actually goes a little bit more further past 12th to the concrete bridge deck, so about 11 to 12. This project, as shown in red, it does have a variety of funding in it. We have the Federal Safety Program funds, we've got the Road Commission funding, and we've also got some Oshkosh Township funding. I did not see Oshkosh Township here tonight, but they are a partner in this project with us. We'll get into that in a minute, but we certainly appreciate our partners. So, just some general project information. The project itself is $1.9 million, so quite a large project for us. We expect it to start on March 20th, so very soon. I'm sure everybody's seen the orange barrels and you're well aware it's coming up. We expect to be done by August 11th. All things go well, that's what we're hoping. And the scope of work, as you probably know, we are doing two roundabouts out here. One at 11th Street, one at 12th Street. With that, we're also going to be doing, of course, curb and gutter, drainage work, road work, paving, of course. There's also going to be some storm sewer and some sanitary sewer. So that's where the township comes in. At one point, we had discussed a pathway out here with the township. That has, it's not quite coming to fruition in this set of plans and in this project. However, it is their long-term goal to do so. So at this point, we will just be grading and preparing the ground for the future path, at least to the extent that we can. So a little bit more about that coordination with the township. I guess I jumped ahead of myself, but we have, the road improvements are about 1.1 million, and then we got another 700,000 split between the preparatory work for the path and the sanitary sewer. So I know it's a little bit small for those of you in the back. We do have boards up front. You can come around later and take a look. But we have, oh, that's interesting. We got the two roundabouts. We got a red line there that kind of shows the sanitary sewer. It's really going to be more at the intersection of 11th Street. The sanitary sewer will not go to 12th Street. It will stay primarily on the east end. And there will be resurfacing the portions in between the roundabouts and all the way up to the bridge deck. Additionally, the grading for the path will occur on the north side of Parkview. Primarily, you're going to see that at the intersection of 11th Street and closer to 131. So, you might have wondered, how are we selecting these projects? This one is a little bit different. You know, a lot of our paving jobs were going based upon the wear and tear on the road surface and the deterioration. This project is not that old, believe it or not. This is 23 years old of pavement right here. It was last paved in 2000. It was chip sealed in 2012, so it's not that bad a pavement condition. But we've been alerted by residents via service request and others that there's a problem with operations out here. We've had requests for traffic signals in the past at 11th and 12th. We've seen accident patterns. It's kind of small on the screen, but we see the accident patterns from the past 5 years. We've heard about issues when you're coming up 12th to Parkview and not being able to turn left or right because of traffic. So we've heard about these concerns from residents. We're trying to address them. We're also trying to address the safety of the road. That's how we've secured the funding for the safety money. So we're really trying to improve this because of that. Maybe not so much the pavement issue. So why roundabouts? Well, I guess I want to first of all say if you haven't attended the previous meeting, which was held spring of last year, you can go online, you can see the video from that, you can get the materials from it, and that kind of goes a little bit more into why we got to where we are today. That talks about the roundabouts and why that was selected as maybe the method of choice for this location. But as a quick summary, roundabouts are the safer alternative. They do reduce injuries and especially fatal accidents by quite a good margin, 90% for fatalities and injuries 76% according to national studies. They also reduce the whole gamut of crashes by about 35%. They slow speeds, which most people tend to enjoy, and that also seems to reduce the severity of the crashes. They also simplify decision making. Now, that presumes you know how to drive a roundabout, I guess, but you only got to look to one direction rather than across and to your right. So I guess I can see that one a little bit. Efficiency, they are more efficient than a typical traffic signal or a four-way stop where you have to come to a complete stop sometimes, or even a signal where you got the inevitable red light and you got to stop. So it is more efficient. You do get to yield, so rolling stop. And that in turn improves the air quality. So it's a greener alternative. So RCKC does use a mix of fixes on our road. We, as you may know, and you probably do, we do use chip seal very heavily. That's preventative maintenance. So it's like changing oil in your car. The rehabilitation projects, the reconstruction projects, rehabilitation is where you're doing an overlay, putting new asphalt on the road. The reconstruction is where you're taking down the gravel. And that's primarily what will be on this job. And that's mainly because of the sewer. Again, if you're putting sewer underneath the road, this is really the time to do it. And that's really going to tear up the whole road all through the gravel. So impacts to traffic, I'm sure this is the key point everybody probably wants to know is it's going to be detoured. Now I'll get to that in a minute, so bear with me, but local traffic will be maintained. So we will get you to your houses. We will get emergency vehicles in, deliveries, Amazon, all that good stuff. Work will be primarily 7 to 6, so 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays, maybe a Saturday here and there if we're behind schedule. As far as that detour business I just spoke of, so we really have two phases to this project, and we tried to do that for everybody's convenience. The sewer, again, primarily at 11th Street, is kind of the big item here, and that's really going to impact traffic. So phase one, we're going to do that sewer. We're going to build the roundabout at 11th, but we're going to do the sewer. So that's really going to shut down the whole intersection. So Parkview will be closed at that point. Again, this starts on March 20, so like a week away. That will close Parkview, it'll close 11th Street. But it will keep open 12th Street. We plan to keep 12th Street open for as long as possible so you can get up to Parkview to go to Drake Road. Now, come June 12th, that's going to change. On June 12th, we will have to get into the Parkview intersection. So at that time, you will be using the detour route, and I know it's long, please bear with us, but it's ON Avenue to 11th Street to 9th Street, N Avenue to 9th Street to Stadium to Drake. So yes, it's a long route. We're trying to minimize the time of it. We're trying to get the contractor to hurry up and build this portion so we can get it back open again. We are cognizant of the schools in the area, the churches in the area, places of business, the residences, so we are trying to get this taken care of quickly. What should you expect? Well, things are under construction. Well, the road will be closed to traffic. Surfaces will be dusty, with it being down the gravel. There will be delays, so as you're trying to get in and out of your driveways, paving trucks inevitably cause a delay. You may have to be held up for a couple minutes. We will try to get you in and out, but you might have to wait just a little bit. There will be lawn disturbance, but no fear, we will come back and seed it. As for that schedule, so I said we're coming in March 20th. That'll be for tree work. Tree work is late March. And right after the tree work's done, we're going to roll into the removals. So start tearing up the existing roadway and getting it out of there. That'll probably last till early April. Following that, we'll be in the sewer for quite a while, probably a good month. We'll be doing the sanitary and the storm sewer at the intersection of 11th. After that, we'll be doing the roadway base, so back to that gravel. We'll be doing the gravel, touching it back up. Then we'll be in curb and gutter. And that'll be mid to late May. And this is, again, at 11th Street. And then paving. So then we'll be paving in June, along with some restoration. So the seeding and the restoration, getting that grass to grow back. Then we'll move into phase 2, which again, goes all the way to 12th Street. We will start the removals on the rest of the project in mid-June. We'll get into culverts in mid-June. And then we'll be in the roadway base at 12th Street, probably late June, early July. Curb and gutter, early July. And then paving, probably the latter half of July, with restoration to follow in July. And then finally, after we get these 2 layers of asphalt on, we'll do the 11th Street first and the 12th Street second. We'll come back at the end, we'll put a final 2 inches of asphalt across the whole thing, back from 12th to 11th for rideability. So it'll be a top course asphalt, it'll be real nice. On top of that, we'll do our pavement markings and our signs, all the general upgrades that go along with it, and we'll be done, and hopefully out of here by mid-August. So just to walk you through some of these steps, if you're not familiar, you have questions, we're going to kind of walk through the different facets of the job. We got the tree work. Now, that's, I guess, for whatever trees are still left after the ice storm. We'll see how many that is. We have sanitary sewer. So, depending on the depth, sometimes they use these trench boxes. It can get kind of deep at times. But we'll be doing the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer. Then we'll be back to place the road gravel, fill it all back up so we can pave on it. Concrete curb and gutter will be next. Again, this will take a while because of the roundabouts. So we'll be out there. If you look at our sketches here when you have the meeting, you can see how much curb there is. There's a lot of concrete work, so this might take some time. Culvert replacements. There's a few culverts out here. I think it's just to the west of 12th Street. So we'll be doing the culvert replacements. That will close the road, no doubt. So that'll be one of those things that if you're impacted by the project and you live there, if you're with the Chinese Christian church, these things may impact your access for a brief period while they're constructed. They will be backfilled and you'll be able to get around them, but they will certainly be an impact. Asphalt, again, will be placed in 3 layers. The first layer will be put directly on the gravel, 2 inches. Second layer, we put on top of that, another 2 inches. And then the final layer, another 2 inches. After all the concrete in the project's done, we'll come back and put that final 2 inches on. And then for any areas that don't have the curb and gutter, which I believe there might be a couple in the middle of the road there between 12th and 11th, we will be putting some gravel shoulders. I don't think that's very much of the job though. Restoration, so that's your seeding. So if you have a yard, if you have a well-maintained yard, we're going to put bad grass. If it's native, if it's unkept, we'll put back our standard roadside mix, which is kind of a wildflower mix. It's very nice looking. So that's kind of the 2 options for restoration. Signs will be updated. So we'll have all new signs. It won't be stops, it'll be yields. But we'll have new signs out there. And pave markings. So we'll do new pave markings. Word of warning, it is wet paint. It will stick to the cars, so just stay back a little bit. I don't want to get any calls, or at least minimize the calls about people running through wet paint. And then if you thought you were done with us, you weren't. We'll be back in 1 to 2 years to chip sealing. So as a standard practice of the Road Commission, we found that there's value to chip sealing within 1 to 2 years after project completion. We've seen that causes the pavement surface to last longer and thus save everybody money in the long run. So we will be back 1 or 2 years after the project to chip seal it. So throughout this project, or any of our projects for that matter, we have our CKC Connect. This is our platform to connect with residents, to let you know about traffic impacts, detours, delays, general public news, all that good stuff. You can sign up. I think we have cards, Sarah, in the back. So we have cards. You can take one of the cards. There's the QR code. You can snap a picture and go there. Our website also has this, so that's another good way to go. You can receive updates via text, phone call, the email, I think those are the main three. Word of warning though is if you do put in for a phone call or a text, be prepared that some road closures happen at night. So you might get a couple of beeps during the night. Otherwise, connect with us. We do have a phone number. It might be a little bit small for you all up there, but we'll have cards in the back too, so you can grab those. Phone number for the office, website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course, the physical building over on Kilgore Road. So with that being said, what we're going to do here is we're going to open it up for some general questions. So I'll take some general questions from up here, and then we're going to kind of break out. We've got two sets of plans in the back, and we're going to have these boards up front so you can come take a look. And if you have particular questions about your property, your access, maybe it's not stuff for the greater good, we'll certainly help you out with that and we'll answer your questions. Yes, sir?
General question. So there's a very nice paved shoulder on there now that the cyclists tend to use.
Yes.
So now you're going to get rid of the paved shoulder and go to gravel shoulder there?
No, we will still be having a paved shoulder, but outside of that paved shoulder...
Jim, go ahead and repeat that question. That's a good one.
Thank you, Sarah. So this is being recorded. It will be posted online, so I do need to repeat the question back so that they have it for the virtual audience. The question was, will we be doing away with the paved shoulder that the cyclists use in favor of a gravel shoulder? And no, that is not the case. So on all of our roads, most of our roads, we have the paved shoulder, and then beyond that there's a gravel shoulder. Now that may get hidden over time by the growth in the grass, so it's probably still out there, but it's probably buried by a layer of topsoil and dirt. But that's what we're going to put back. We'll put back the paved shoulder, and then outside of that we'll have a gravel shoulder.
And the sidewalk, sorry, the curb. You said there was a curb.
Yes.
There is currently no curb. What's
So
that design, I guess?
The question was, is the design of the curb, where's the curb going? You can see that on the images, it's primarily going to be at the intersections. So you can come up here and take a look, but you're going to have the splitter islands in the middle, you're going to have the circle in the middle. Basically, the intersection itself is going to have curb and gutter. And it'll be mountable curbs so the trucks, when we design these, they're designed for trucks, school buses, of course the emergency vehicles, all the users of the road. So they are mountable curbs so that everybody can traverse around the circle. So, but there is curb and gutter at the intersections. Yes, sir?
So how far north on 11th Street is this built project going to impede into the businesses that are, I represent the Delta Hotel.
Okay.
So we're just wondering, how far north is this going to go?
Sure.
Is it going to cause issues for the businesses that are around us?
So the question was, how far north are we going to go with this project on 11th Street for some of the businesses out there? This project is not going to go much further than what you're seeing right there, which is probably 300 to 400 feet, thereabouts. So it's not going to get up to the Delta Hotel. It's going to stay relatively close to the intersection at
So
Parkview.
it's basically Parkview and 11th as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is primarily just the intersections in the area in between. We're not carrying it further north. Yes, sir?
Couple questions.
Yes.
Lighting, is there going to be street lighting? I haven't noticed that.
I'm glad you brought that up. So the question was, will there be street lighting? Yes, there will. So there was street lighting out there now, I do believe, but it was maybe one light. That has or will be taken down with the work that's ongoing now by Consumers Energy. So those lights will go away. When we are done, we will be putting in new lights. So there will be, I think, 4 at 11th and 3 at 12th. So it will be properly illuminated. One of the things from a national level recommendation, good engineering, is to have street lighting at roundabouts. So we will have that.
And mailboxes?
Yes.
How are those, are they going to move? Will we move them? How's that?
The question is, mailboxes, will they be moved or will you move them? You will not have to move them. If they are being replaced with the project, and I guess that depends on if they're going to be impacted or not, and I would expect a good number will, we will be putting those back. If the post is broken or bad shape, we might replace the post for you. But generally speaking, you won't have to touch the mailboxes. Now, during construction, if the contractor elects to move them for the mail delivery, they may be moved temporarily, and the contractor will take care of that. But we will certainly work with you. HRC, our inspector on site, I think they drive a white truck. big letters HRC. If you see them out there, stop and flag them down. They can tell you where to go for your mail. Well, they'll be letting you know before they move it, obviously, but yes, we will take care of your mail in your mailbox.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
For
With
those
the hat.
of us in the back or me?
Yeah, you,
Okay.
right there.
For those of us living on the construction road,
Yes.
will our driveways be regraded at the mouth of the driveway to accommodate the changes?
Yes. So I believe with most of our projects, if your driveway is gravel now, I'm sorry, thank you. Yes, so the question is, will we be putting back the driveways and will we be re-graveling them or resurfacing them? Correct me if I'm wrong, Eric and Chris, but I think if it's gravel, we're gonna try to put back some gravel and smooth it out up to the right-of-way line, so approximately maybe about 15 feet. So we'll carry it out and we'll make sure it's traversable and not horrible for you. If it's paved, we'll be paving it back up to the point of whichever it needs, however far it needs to go. We're obviously not going to carry it on your property, especially if we don't have a grading permit or anything from you to do so. We're going to stay in the right of way, but we will fix up the approaches, the driveways, as they enter the public road.
I do have a follow-up on.
Yeah.
You said hours of work will be from 7 to 6. You didn't mention that was a hard stop at 6.
No.
So how frequent do you guys go past 6 typically on projects?
Oh, so the question is how often do we go past 6? The hours were 7 to 6. That is what the contractor has told us thus far. So that's the best I can give you at this time. Now, if we run into a situation where I think it was last year or 2 years ago where we had a whole bunch of rain during the season, and all of a sudden I got to get done by August 11th, then we may have to work a Saturday or a Sunday here and there. We may have to work a little bit later. I don't think that's a regular occurrence, is it?
No. Usually the day-to-day work would be till about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Contractors don't want to work too much later than that, but an odd day like for paving or
Yeah, that's true.
if they're trying to wrap up a curb and gutter and it's the last little bit that they have, they might end up being there till around 7. Usually 7's the kind of cutoff.
We see a lot of contractors go 7 to 7. So it's a little bit different that we see them going to 6, but I think they're going to try to stay to 6, but as you said, if there's paving or something that they got to keep going and go a half an hour, they may. Yes, sir.
So, especially like at 11th Street, the roundabout, is that gonna cut into some of those, properties? Like the cemetery and the daycare?
Yep, so the question was, is the roundabout specifically at 11th Street going to cut into the properties? So no, we are not going to touch the cemetery, I can tell you that one right off the bat. We don't want to get into the cemetery. We did secure, if we are going outside the right of way, we have easements. We have secured easements from the owners on the northwest and southwest. So we will be going out of the current right of way a little bit there. There's quite a slope on that southwest by the daycare, so we're going to take that out. We're actually moving their driveway a touch to the west further. And the fellow on the northwest, I think we're cutting out a lot of his trees there. I've seen that marked out. So we will be expanding, I guess, westward a little bit there. Primarily at 12th Street, though, we're going to shift it south. So there's really nothing there at this time. We have the Armory, and we have, I think, Western Michigan owns the parcel on the southeast. So we've secured easements there as well.
Will it go beyond the guardrail on the north side?
No. In fact, I think we're trying to keep it south so that they can eventually run their path on the north side. Sorry, the question was, will we be getting into the will we be moving it north to the guardrail on the north side? Trying not to. There will be some guardrail work here, though. We're going to freshen up the guardrail, and in preparation for the path, we will be moving some of the guardrail a little bit further north, or really north, to facilitate that path being built in the future. Yes, sir?
I know I already talked to you earlier about this, but I want to make sure I got it clear when I.
Yeah.
The elevation of the pitch, is that going to be like coming from the bridge coming down to 12th Street? Because in the wintertime, it gets very icy, and if that elevation is still the same, you got a lot of ice in it.
Yes. So the question is, will the pitch of Parkview at 12th Street coming over the bridge overpass, coming down, it is rather steep, will that be fixed at all? Because there are people coming down that hill that slide when they hit the ice in the winter and that kind of stuff. So to an extent, yes, we will be filling and raising the road at 12th Street. But it will be not a huge amount. So just to make sure expectations are, we're not raising it 10 feet. It'll be raised slightly, but not a lot. This is probably an area that we will have to watch, and I would ask for your patience as we, at the Road Commission, learn how to plow these and salt these so that we can prevent slide-offs in the future. So it's going to be a learning curve for us as well in the winter, but it will be raised slightly, just not tons. Yes, sir.
During phase 2 construction,
Yes.
12th Street will be closed for about 2 months. Right?
Yes.
At that time, Chinese church access will still open, right?
Yes. So the question was, during phase 2, the Chinese church, will there still be access because the intersection will be closed? And yes, the intersection will be closed, and yes, the church will have access. It just may come from a different way, right? So if we're working in the intersection proper, you may come from 11th Street. You may drive on that second layer of asphalt to get there. We'll have to figure it out, and the folks from HRC will be out there talking with you daily about this, but yes, we will get you in and out of your building. I'm not going to hold you guys up. We're going to make sure you can get there.
But the work days on Sunday also, right?
On Sunday? Yeah, oh, yes. We'll make sure you can get there on Sunday.
Thank you.
Yes, in the back.
How is this whole project going to coordinate with the sewer work that's going to be taking place?
The sewer work on this project or different sewer work?
Well, on this location.
So the question is, how will this project coordinate with the sewer work at this location? It really should be fairly seamless because the same contractor, Milbacher, is doing, they're in charge of every aspect of this. So ultimately, they're going to be in charge of the sewer, grading for the path, the roadway, the roundabouts, the concrete. They may have their subcontractors do some work for them, but ultimately it's their job at the end of the day and they're held responsible. So it should dovetail well between the different aspects of the job. To my knowledge, there are no other sewer jobs in this vicinity going on the same year. There may be in the future, but as of right now, this is the only one. So I think in terms of coordinating the sewer with the road, should be seamless. The contractor will have that in hand.
Because I know it wasn't seamless on the other side of Drake for the last year and a half, 2 years.
Oh, yes, the other work on the other side of Drake was maybe not so seamless. I know we did run into some issues, and I admit that was not a road commission job either. I got to preface, that was a city council job, but to speak to that maybe a little bit as a guess, potentially they may have had some delays for material. I know we've all struggled with that in recent years.
Weather also was a factor, I'm sure. But
Yeah, I'm sure it was probably a factor. The good news is that I think at this point we have that Milbacher has all material in hand, so we do not anticipate any delays at this time.
so they're going to be working the 3 projects together simultaneously.
Yes, this is truly one project, so they will do it all at once. Yes, sir.
So we go to church here, so we're gonna
Yes.
have to backtrack. We live right over off of Atlantic, so we're gonna
Yes.
have to take 9th Street and is Misty Creek gonna be available, or are we gonna have to go all the way down to 12th Street?
So the question here is, if you're living to the west and you gotta come to the church here, I would say this is a good discussion for afterward, for detailed dialogue, but the particular question was Misty Creek and if that's usable. We're not closing Misty Creek, however, I would not advise you use Misty Creek either because that is a neighborhood road. There's probably lots of kids out there playing and I certainly don't want to see anybody get hurt. So the official detour when phase 2 is ongoing will be 11th Street to ON to 12th. Yes, sir.
What kind of signage are you gonna have when this is happening? So
Yes.
if it's gonna be closed on 11th, are you gonna put signage, construction signage, like south of N on 11th if you're heading north?
Yes.
And
So,
what are you gonna do about the increased traffic if it goes down 11th? Are they gonna have some place to turn around and once it's closed?
so the question is signage on particularly 11th, but it really in any approach here to this work zone. We will have proper signage. There will be signs at in, right? So if that's the detour route, we're gonna try to catch them before they get past in. The last thing I want people to do is come up to Parkview and have to turn around, make the loop, and then go back, right? So we're gonna try to catch them at in. We actually have some portable changeable message boards, so the signs that, you know, you can program. We're gonna have those going up if they aren't already. We're trying to get them up this week. They may still be up tomorrow, otherwise they'll be up next week first thing, but we're gonna try to get some signs out to warn folks that this is coming, because not everybody, of course, could be here tonight. And a lot of the commuters probably aren't here. So we are gonna try to get those out there to let folks know that this is coming and what, as much as they can, to expect. But there will be signs out at the limits, trying to grab people before they get stuck at the construction site. Yes, Ryan?
Just for those portable changeable message signs, will they be left in place during the project?
The portable changeable message signs, thankfully are programmable, so we will move them as needed and reprogram them as needed. So I think the initial message will be something to the effect of road construction coming on such and such a date. We will change that as needed for the different phases to let folks know. They could be moved depending on need. So if they're not as any sign for detours and whatnot, if it's not helpful where it's at and we start seeing a pattern of poor behavior or whatnot that we can fix, we will try to move the sign accordingly. Yes, sir. Yes.
What's the impact on Kalamazoo Public Schools and Portage school buses? Have you done a study? Do they know the reroutes and the times that could takes an hour for my kids to get home? I live right next to this street as it is.
Okay.
I really don't want them on the bus.
So the concern is the school buses out here for K Public and Portage. And so I think we have, or we will reach out to those districts. I know we talked to Metrobus today. They have routes through here as well. So we are trying to make the rounds to let folks know of this. I don't know what that means for their particular routes, but we are trying to make that connection and speak to them about it. I do not believe that might be a discussion for afterward. I have to check with these guys up here. You might circle back with them afterward. Yes, sir.
Was there any discussion with the Christian school about going through their property?
There has not. That is a private driveway, and I don't really want to be responsible if it were to fall apart because of the traffic on the public road. Sorry, the question was, do we want to use the private school driveway that connects 11th to 12th? So generally we try to not detour to a private street. Usually that's a public street. Yes, ma'am.
At what point will it affect, we live on Vienna Street.
Yeah.
Will we be very well affected by the closure?
The question is, if you live on Vienna Street, will you be affected? I don't think you'll be terribly affected. You might talk to us afterwards. The worst that's going to happen there is there will be a manhole that will be in the intersection of Vienna and Parkview. So it may be tight, but I suspect you'll be able to get around it. Yes, ma'am.
I just was curious, does the road commission coordinate with public safety at all? Because the traffic on ON and N is gonna probably quadruple minimum. And it will be all day long, there's semis and everything, to get these people to maybe obey traffic signals or speed limits. They don't now, but, they're on there, they go on, so they're not supposed to be on now.
So the question is, do we partner with the enforcement agencies to promote better driver behavior, I guess you could say, during the construction as more traffic can be rerouted? We do. I guess I'd encourage you to, if you see that kind of thing, please report it yourself. I think more folks expressing the need, and if you designate a certain time of day, they can probably focus their efforts. But if we see a problem, we will try to reach out to them. I think the truck enforcement, though, is not done by the sheriff. I want to say that's done by the township. It's their ordinance. It's not ours, and I don't think it's the sheriff's, but speed certainly would be up to the sheriff.
And then a follow-up.
Yes.
As this project moves forward, are you guys going to look to adjust the speed limit between N and Parkview on 11th Street, maybe lower from 55 so people aren't going into that rotary at 55 miles an hour?
The question is, will we be looking at speed after the project, especially on 11th Street into Parkview? Right now it is 55.
Which means it's 75.
I understand. Right now it's legally 55. Depends on how many sheriff vehicles are out there. I know. We will not be actively looking at it. We, as a general practice for speed limits, we try to encourage the township participation in that. So we like to start with the township to keep them informed. So we'd rather have, if the residents have a concern about speed, we'd like you to take it to the township. They usually do a resolution of support, and then that informs us that, hey, this is the need. And then for us, setting speed limits, and there's a whole, I don't know if we have a brochure on that here.
But we
have them online.
We don't set speed limits.
We do not set speed limits. It is in the state law. The state police set the speed
No, I
limits.
know, we've gone through this.
Okay, all right.
A million times. I'm just concerned that there's a daycare right there.
I know.
Rotaries, people, because you don't have to stop.
Yep.
They're gonna go in them that fast and little, kids
And-
are.
Yeah, I get that, and I'll be happy to talk to more about that after, we can talk about that after we break up, so.
Okay.
Anyone else for the greater good? Yes?
And I'm speaking in regard of the Chinese church.
Yes.
So there will only be one access to the Chinese church, and that will be coming from the direction that's currently level?
The question is, the Chinese church and the access, will there only be one access coming from 11th? I think this would be better suited for maybe a in-person discussion, because I would have to look. I'm gonna have to look at the plans or the drawings here. I think this might be something we might want to resolve on the aside. Yes, sir?
Will there be any interference with ISP networks or utilities in general?
The question is there any interference with the ISP or computer networks, whatnot? So depends on your provider. There's one provider I know of that still has work to do. There's a lot that have been done, so they may not have a disturbance if maybe you're AT&T or something like that. But I know there is.
Two, so.
Okay,
She
well,
really narrowed it down.
we've had about every utility in the world out here at 11th Street, so I'm not sure which one's which anymore. But there's one that still needs to cut over, and they will be having a downtime. They tried to program that. I think I was talking to them. They said nights or weekends, so they will let you know in advance. Yes, sir.
Have you done an economic study on the impact?
The question is, have we done an economic study on the impact? No, we have not.
What is your responsibility for any economic development?
The question is there any responsibility for any economic downfall? At this time, I don't know of any. I think we'd be happy to talk to you about that one-on-one.
Because usually the clause, like if you were doing major construction down Westridge, there's usually an economic, some type of support for building.
Okay. We can certainly talk about that with you.
And so piggybacking on her discussion, there was no, you haven't done any speed or traffic study on the impact?
We would look, sorry, the question is, we have not done any speed or traffic study on the impact. We would look for the township to request that of us. So if the township wants us to look at speed, we will do so with the state police. It is not something that we.
So that means this project's being done without a traffic study being done before this project's finished?
Speed,
The traffic.
this might be a further discussion offline because I'm getting a little bit confused here, but in terms of a speed study, we've not done a speed study.
Or a traffic study, like there's an actual need for this construction.
We have done traffic counts and have looked at those and made this determination, so we can talk further about that.
Is that study public? Is that study publicly available?
Anything we do can be publicly available, yes.
Again, so where is it available?
We can address that after.
I mean, everybody should have access, right? There should be a public-
Yeah. All right. So thank you. With that, we're going to break up. Again, we got the three boards up here. Feel free to come up and chat with us on those. And we do have 2 tables in the back with plans, so we'll speak to you about specific concerns. Thank you. Have a good night.